Alright guys, welcome back. We're doing a ranking of all of the episodic weapons that we have gotten so far. This is just episodic weapons, and the order is mostly the ones that I prefer to use the most, not in any particular order, but these are just the ones that I would recommend getting before Frontiers comes out. And if you are new to the channel and you've been enjoying the content, or maybe you enjoy this video, please consider subscribing. It's free, it's easy, it helps me out a bunch to let me know that you guys enjoy this content. But without further ado, let's get into the first gun on the list, which is Sightline Survey. It is a 180 hand cannon, and it's actually pretty solid. Word of Crota has been getting a lot of love recently. This is also a decent option. The role that I would recommend is in light action Volt Shot, if I can find it with my eyes. There it is. And the origin trait does cause some explosions as well with rapid final blows. This is just a solid Volt Shot hand cannon. Most of these weapons, you will realize, are just not the best in slot hand cannons. I would say that Word of Crota is probably better than this. But as far as arc hand cannons go, Prosperity's up there with this. I just think Sightline Survey is also a solid option as well. You could also, for PvE, go with something like Enlightened Action Desperate. I saw some PvP rules out there. I really like To the Pain, Eye of the Storm if you're a controller player. If not, Precision Instrument is another good one with Fragile Focus. That's the 180 Igneous Hammer roll, but really you're gonna get your most value in PvE out of this thing. It's a 180, 120s really shine in PvP, and 180s are honestly not that great. For weapon mods, you could put ballistics on this. You want to look for stability masterwork if you can get that for PvE. You could also put on a finder of your choice depending on what you're running, but again, just a really solid hand cannon with Volt Shot. Next, we have the only other support frame in the game aside from No Hesitations. That of course is the Adamantite, which instead of giving you restoration, will spawn unraveling projectiles when you are healing your allies. And really this just allows for some flexibility. The combination of reciprocity as well as Circle of Life is pretty fun. And for origin traits, Willing Vessel is a pretty solid one, which would allow you to proc certain things, but honestly I think this is the best if you're going for support. If you're going for maybe a different type of role here with some debuffs, you could do Slice Tear, but I honestly think that you want to build into the healing as much as you can, and that's why these two make a ton of sense. Stability Masterwork to help out with stability, of course, and whatever mod of your choosing. This one, again, just a lot of flexibility, and hopefully we see some more support frames with different abilities in the future. Next on the list is Noxious Vetiver, which is not my favorite arc SMG out there, but this is a very solid one if you don't have one, with combinations like Loose Change Jolting Feedback or Attrition Orbs Jolting Feedback. I haven't used this thing in PvP at all, but To the Pain target lock is not horrible. I'm a huge Attrition Orbs simp. I use it on just about everything, and the fact that this origin trait, when you get final blows, you can shoot this little ether thing that gives your magazine a huge buff, so you can proc Attrition Orbs more consistently. I do prefer Subjunctive though, because that also is just a solid SMG as well. And the origin trait is kind of similar to Dark Aether Reaper, but it's more similar. But I do think it's better. This might be something that's good in solo content because you can proc it with Subjunctive. It's a lot better in fire teams because you have to be near allies to proc that. So yeah, this is just a really solid arc SMG in general, and definitely worth your time grinding. Next we have the Pioneer in its area, which is a aerial denial frame, no pun intended, and it was the first. It doesn't mean it's the best, and we'll get to the best one from episodes later on. I was running Stats for All, One for All on this for a pretty long time, but when it came to running the Vespers Host Dungeon solo flawless, I actually decided to change my role to auto-loading Vorpal for boss damage, just because it was helpful to have it for boss damage, what I was trying to do. Vorpal is a lot easier to proc than One for All. On the final boss, you just shoot the boss and get that free 15% damage. One for All is better, so you could do something like auto-loading One for All, because it does give you 35% damage. I think that's a really solid roll. Auto-loading did kind of get nerfed, but it's still really good. Stats for All is also just a really solid perk in that slot. Lead from Gold is another solid one as well if you're looking to improve your ammo economy. And the Origin trait, again, is just going to make things explode. That's why I had Stats for All, One for All as kind of an ad clear thing to pair with this Origin trait, which again spawns a little pool of Vex Milk at target's location once you have some rapid final blows. Velocity is something you want to try to increase to the best of your ability. But honestly, anything works on this. This is just a solid weapon to have, mostly because it's the only aerial denial frame that can go in your kinetic slot, at least for the time being, with Velocity Baton being Void and Psycho Pump being Arc as well. Next up is one that I didn't think I'd be putting on this list, but I played around a little bit with it, and I really enjoy roles like Overflow and Sword Logic, which is, this perk in general is just getting a lot of love recently. And you can get up to 4 stacks, which is for 15 seconds, which is going to give you 50% damage increase as well. Final weapon, final blows with this weapon grant bonus damage. The strength and duration of the bonus increases when more powerful targets are defeated. So it's going to be hard to get it to that 4 times. You're probably going to see this 20% increase most of the time at 2 stacks, or 25%, or maybe 35%. But this is definitely one of the better perks in the game, and it's fun to see it on a primary for a change. You can also get this on the glaive. Of course, Redrick's E-Stock from the comp playlist has been getting a lot of attention with that being on that pulse rifle as well. If you're looking for PvP rolls, I mean, this thing has so many. To the Pain target lock could be really fun. Moving target lock, which is a lot of targets, I guess. And even Sword Logic, again, would be pretty decent on this as well. So many good combinations. The Origin trait also gives you some boosted stats, which is really, really good for PvP as well. Solid SMG, and really we only have one other strand SMG. I believe it's Imminence from Salvation's Edge that I would recommend for PvP, which is also really solid. This might not be better than that, but it's definitely solid. Next up is what a lot of people are calling the Bargain Basement Thunderlord, Watchful Eye, and Arc LMG, which I believe is the only heavy that made my list, at least. Of course, you might have a heavy from one of these episodes that you decided to put on the list. Overflow Jolting Feedback is great for this, depending on your build. Overflow Rolling Storm, I think, is one that you can get from the Season Pass. Also very, very solid. If for some reason you're looking to do boss damage with an LMG, Elemental Honing, if you're using Prismatic, Target Lock, and even Sword Logic could be an interesting thing to run on this LMG as well. But I think you're going to get most of your value out of Rolling Storm or Jolting Feedback. If you are looking for an ad clear, specifically Killing Tally is a solid option as well. Eddy Current if you want to increase that reload, or if you're using an arc build that utilizes Amplified quite consistently, then of course you want Eddy Current, as it improves Eddy Current when you are amplified. Stability Masterwork, again, I don't really tell you what to put for Masterworks on this. It doesn't matter for the most part, unless you're trying to min-max the perks that you're looking for, or the main thing you want to get. Once you get those, extra 10 stability is going to make a massive difference, but ultimately it's up to you whether you want to get that 5 of 5 or not. Next one, you can make a 5 of 5 because this is a craft weapon. Only the Echo's weapons are craftable, and this is definitely one of the best guns you can get from any episode. I think this one is underrated somewhat, and we've kind of been oversaturated with these rocket sidearms, at least recently, and it's kind of a good thing if we're being honest. But this one's really solid with Heal Clip Incam, which is kind of an overdone role for solar weapons at this point, but it's honestly a really safe option. You're going to see a lot of people running Indebted Kindness, a lot of people running Lotus Eater. This one, again, it is definitely the safest out of the bunch because Heal Clip is going to help out a bunch. And if they do revisit Solar at some point and maybe buff Incandescent or give it some new interactions with certain things, you could ultimately change what you want to put on this. I see a lot of people using beacon rounds on this. It really, whatever floats you about. This has a lot of good perks here. I say a lot. Really, I think beacon rounds, Heal Clip are the best. Ambitious is up there. Golden Tricorn if you're looking for a little extra damage. But I'm gonna be real. Heal Clip Incan is just so hard to beat. There's a reason that you can get it on Lunas, you can get it on Nullify, you can get it on at Hortative, which is also from the Echoes stuff. It's a reprised weapon. I mean, that's also really solid. It's overdone because it's really good. So next up is one that is just fantastic for damage rotations. Of course, Bittersweet with Envious Arsenal Bait and Switch. And as I mentioned earlier, the Dark Ether Reaper origin trait gives a buff or an increase to your magazine size. These charges can be detonated early with weapons by shooting at them. Doing so refills this weapon from reserves and kind of gives it more than the 5 that it would have here. I'm not sure the exact amount, but that's really why it's so good. You can kill and add it just one, let's say, Acolyte, right? And it's periodic, so it's not guaranteed to happen. But, you know, you don't have to do that either, because with Envious, you can just feed into that bait and switch, where you're constantly swapping your weapons to get the damage boost, as well as reloading this weapon. And it's really solid for long damage phases where you're going to be able to empty out the entire thing. And yeah, this is just a solid GL. And as far as ARC GLs go, I know I farmed a ton for Wendigo when it first came out, and I barely touched that thing. This is just probably the best ARC grenade launcher in the game for damage rotations, at least right now. Now, I might get some heat for this because bows are not super popular right now, at least legendary bows. But I do think that this bow is amazing. The Battle Pass gives you a curated roll of Destabilizing and Dragonfly. And the main reason this bow is exciting is Willing Vessel, right? Your dealing damage will grant you increased reload speed. And this thing can fire really fast. And it is sort of kinda the bargain basement lemon, so to speak. You could also do a safer roll of Repulsor D-Stab. You could do Archer D-Stab. I was kind of messing around with Archers and Demoralize because they're both building into Precision if you want to build into some kind of Weaken build as well. For PvP, Successful Warm-Up Impulse Amplifier is just insane. I mean, look at that reload speed. That's crazy to even look at, kind of. And there are, of course, other ways you can buff this. You can do a reload speed masterwork and have your reload speed at 90, which is insane for a bow. And you see that draw time as well is also really low, and you can get it even lower depending on what you want to go for, like putting polymer string on, and you could also put on compact arrow shaft, which sounds like something else, but you can see you can get your reload speed to 100, and that's before you even proc the origin trait. So, I mean, kind of overkill. So you probably want to go for a draw time masterwork instead to get that draw time down. This bow is definitely up there for fun factors, and I can't wait to mess around with it some more. Last but certainly not least, I don't think this is the best aerial denial frame. I think Velocity Baton gets that medal, at least in my opinion. That's my personal opinion, right? But this is definitely the second on the list. Having access to Rolling Storm is really solid. Bolt Charge is just really strong, and Rolling Storm will help you feed into that. If you want to build more into your abilities, you can do something like Pugilist Demo, which could be a fun role to try for sure. I know I love my Demo Attrition Orbs, Velocity Baton, but Ambitious is just really nice. Another solid role would be like Eddy Current Rolling Storm. Again, if you're building into Arc, it's going to increase that reload speed. I'm not so sure about Envious Arsenal, but Stats for All would be a solid option for a reload perk as well. Feeding Frenzy Rolling Storm is one that I was running for a while until I got my Ambitious Rolling Storm roll as well. And that does it. Those are 10 episodic weapons that you should try to get before Frontiers, at least the 10 that I think are the best. This can change down the line, guns will get buffs and whatnot. You should try to get all of them if I'm being honest, but if you have limited time before then I would definitely recommend these 10 above the others. Anyways, thanks for watching. See ya.